25. But Grandpa, Ningning said after a long pause, I still don't know how you became a Buddhist. Remember how you used to ask me why you didn't have any uncles? Yes. Well, you should have had 3 uncles, all born before your mother. Really? Your first uncle, if he were alive today, would be 9 years older than your mother. He was born with a loud cry, 10 times louder than the pitiful noise I had made when I was born. Jingge, meaning golden son, was a very smart kid. He could read Chinese characters by age 2 and write by age 3. His reading and hearty musical laugh had brought so much joy to his young parents. One evening, little Jingge said he would go downstairs to play with Auntie Huang's big brother, Shito, Rock. It was a popular nickname for boys. Well, the 2 of them wandered outside and never came back. Auntie Huang's brother? Exclaimed Ningning. Yes. That means Damei and Armei should have had an uncle too? That's right. The 2 families searched and searched for days, but they were gone, just like that. Jingo's mother cried and cried. She waited day and night at the entrance to the alley and asked everyone she saw if she had seen the boy. But people only shook their heads. Undeterred, she went on to say, He has this here on his belly, a little purple birthmark shaped like a bird. Like a bird? Ningning asked. Yes, that's unusual. It is. That birthmark was on Jinge's belly, always covered by clothes, and people wouldn't be able to see it. But there was no point explaining that to his mother. What else could she do? Is that the reason why you love birds? Yes, I love birds that can sing. Like Lucky, Grandpa nodded. It was just the start of a very sad and tragic period in their lives. There were 2 more baby boys after that, but both died just days after being born. The folk doctor said there was something wrong with their mother's milk because she had been so sad. Some years later, a daughter was born who survived. You mean Mama? Exclaimed Ningning. That's right, but only a year after your mother was born, your grandma died. She had just been through so much. So one day he carried his baby daughter to the Soul Valley Temple at Purple Mountain. Having put up 2 incense sticks and some offerings, he knelt down and began to pray. But he didn't know exactly how. He just knocked his head against the hard floor as he had seen other people do. What are your wishes, young pilgrim? A kind voice nearby asked. He looked up and saw a middle-aged monk standing in front of him. Wisps of incense were curling upward. The monk's face was calm, kind, and serene. He broke down, and his sorrows poured forth in a torrent of unintelligible mumbling. He shook his head as tears streaked down his cheeks. The monk remained calm, nodding his head as if he understood every sorrow. If you really want to be free from pain and suffering, young pilgrim, the monk said finally, you should learn about Buddha. Only Buddhism can bring you enlightenment and put an end to suffering, which is one of the truths of all life. So it was then you, Ningning said. Yes, I want to repent for all the wrongdoings and cleanse myself of all the evil influences. In the years since then, it has given me so much peace and joy. That and when you were born. Now listen, Grandpa continued. I didn't know it at the time, but the man in the temple, that monk, he was a Japanese. What? Ningning exclaimed. The monk had come all the way from Japan because Nanking was home to so many famed Buddhist temples. I remember his name, Benevolent Truth. Did Mama give you much trouble when she was young? Ningning asked. No, not at all. 锁子 meaning locked, so she would not be lost like her elder brothers, had given him so much joy. He loved her just as much as if she were a son, and taught her to read and write just the same. Never mind that she could not carry on the family name. She even went to school for a few years and grew up to be a fine young woman. For many years, Suze had taken care of him like a perfect daughter. But as she grew older, she caused him pain too. She wasn't a disobedient daughter. She was a loving, dutiful daughter in every way, but she had fallen in love with a soldier. It was the last thing he wanted for his daughter. Why is that? Ningning asked, just as her mother must have done. Because a soldier's life was to kill or be killed. That was all there was to it. The Jings had all been victims of soldiers. But this soldier is different, Suze had argued. How so? He's a scholarly kind of a soldier who has brains, who has ideals, such as wiping out the warlords so people could live in peace and prosperity. But he'll have to kill for his ideals, he had shouted furiously. Yonghui turned out to be not only handsome, but also intelligent, well-read, and soft-spoken. He was like the son Grandpa could have had. Grandpa? Asked Ningning. Yes. Have I given you any trouble? All you have given me is joy. Really? Yes. But remember, when you grow up and... Grandpa, I will never cause you any pain. Never. I promise. I'm glad. It was quiet now, quiet for a long time. Grandpa could hear Ningning's slow, measured breathing. She was asleep. He began to feel drowsy, but then began to chant silently, his lips moving without sound as his quivering fingers moved the pearl-like strand in his hands methodically.